Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Justin at Salt Strong, and I wanted to give you another quick tackle tip. We're kind of on the backside of November right now, and we're having some cold fronts pass through in Florida. And even though a lot of people would still technically consider this fall, these cold fronts are starting to really drop the water temperatures throughout the majority of Florida and a lot of the southeast. I know Wyatt and I have been talking a lot about his fishing over in Texas, and we've noticed kind of some similarities of how redfish specifically have been behaving during these cold snaps and these high pressure systems that move through. As you can see, it's kind of a bluebird sky day. It's been really chilly out today, and one of the #1 lures that I want to try to throw under these type of conditions are shrimp presentations. And you might be asking, there's a lot of different shrimp presentations out there, so which ones should I look to add to my tackle box to best cover whatever scenario you're going to be fishing, whether you're fishing against marsh grass or you're fishing against mangrove edges, which is what I spend a lot of my time doing. There's a lot of different shrimp lures out there, and while a lot of them work, I found these 3 to be the most successful in a couple different scenarios, and I wanted to show you guys that today in this tip. So to start, I've been experimenting with 3 different lures that I would say are relatively new, all things considered. What I have here in my hand is a Gulp Shrimp, the Power Prawn, and our Gold Digger, which is a 3.5-inch paddle tail, and I kind of want to start top to bottom. First, let's take a look at a Gulp Shrimp. Obviously, this is a tried and true lure. A lot of guys fishing for redfish, trout, snook, any inshore game fish know that Gulp is a staple lure, and it flat out works, guys. And a lot of that has to do with the scent of Gulp itself. Performance-wise, these lures don't have a lot of great action in the water, but if you're fishing for redfish right after that cold front, and it's bluebird skies, and these fish are moving around slow, they're milling around tight to the mangrove edges or tight to the marsh grass, and they can be a little finicky, there's really no way to beat throwing a Gulp Shrimp in front of that fish. Just a couple quick hops off the bottom, a little bit of a mud pluming or sand pluming will get the fish's attention, and that scent is going to get them to commit. So this is one of the shrimp lures I'll have tied on when conditions are really tough, the sun's high, and I'm just not getting a great, active response out of redfish. I'll switch over to a Gulp. But a lot of times I'll stick with the Power Prawn. This is kind of initially my go-to lure, and the biggest reason I like the Power Prawn is because the tail design on the back is so big that it catches a lot of water when you're moving it through just a shallow flat or a shallow edge, and that big tail is going to cause a lot of draft. It's going to slow the lure down significantly, and that's really what you want, is you want the lure to stay in the strike zone for as long as possible. Additionally, what I really like about the Power Prawns is, see if we can pick it up on the mic, is it has a rattle cavity. So I can pop a rattle here on the underside, and in addition to bouncing close to the bottom and puffing up all this mud and sand, I've got that added rattle, that added sound as an attraction to get the redfish's attention to come over and investigate, because that is really the name of the game, is they're looking for shrimp, and the shrimp don't want to be noticed. So any little thing you can do where you're not drawing a lot of attention to yourself, but just enough, I think works in your favor. So I like being able to add a rattle into the Power Prawn and stay close to the bottom. I think this really helps in those situations. And then the final lure, which I'm sure some of you might look at and think, that's not a shrimp lure. I gotta tell you guys right now, this is probably my #1 go-to lure. At the end of the day, if I had to choose in the majority of situations, I'm gonna tie on a Gold Digger 3.5-inch paddle tail. It's our custom soft plastic here at Salt Strong on our shop page, fishstrong.com. You guys need to come and check this lure out. It is a solid black body, a little bit of gold flake, and you might not think that this imitates a shrimp, but here's the thing. What I do is I end up popping this tail off, and I create pretty much what's called our nub rig. And Luke has a lot of great videos out right now fishing with the Slam Shady 2.0, much different color profile, and I believe that nub rig really looks like a glass minnow bouncing around when you're throwing it in the Slam Shady color. But when you throw it in the Gold Digger color, you're not having as much vibration, drawn to itself. It's bouncing up and down more like a shrimp here through the mud, and this dark coloration is a lot of contrast. So if I'm fishing in a little bit muddy water, or redfish are milling around and they're spooking up other shrimp and they're creating a lot of plumes, and it can be kind of hard to see in those scenarios, I'll take the Gold Digger, which actually has a lot of contrast with that black and that gold. I'll add a little bit of Dr. Juice because the scent's not gonna hurt in that situation either, and I will just slowly bounce this and play cat and mouse with these redfish. And I ended up getting a really nice redfish on this lure, just bouncing it right in front of him, right off the edge of a mangrove. He followed it for a good 4 or 5 seconds until he decided to commit to it. So So that means that fish spent a lot of time looking at this lure and trying to decide whether he wanted to jump on it. And ultimately, he said, yep, that looks just like a shrimp or a mud minnow or some sort of small bait fish that's trying to hide in the mud. I'm gonna smack that. And for that reason, I've been throwing this lure, you know, for a couple months now, but here moving into the winter time, this is gonna be my #1 go-to sight fishing lure to actually imitate a shrimp. And even though it doesn't look like some of the other shrimp lures that we carry, I think that if you're fishing in really muddy water or there's redfish that are really churning up a lot on the bottom, this is gonna stand out and this is definitely gonna get bit. So that wraps it up here for this quick tip, guys. I just want to share with you a couple shrimp lures that I'm always going to have with me here in my tackle box. And I have a variety of different shrimp lures because every day is going to be a little bit different, and I fish a lot of different areas for these redfish. Sometimes the water is going to be really crystal clear or a little bit, you know, stained tannic, and that's when I'm going to want that Gulp translucent shrimp. If I want to fish kind of a half and half and just a general purpose go-to shrimp, the power prawn's not a bad idea, especially with that rattle cavity. And if the water starts getting really muddy or churned up, I'm definitely going to have this gold digger nub tied on to make sure that I seal the deal. It's kind of like my my ace in the hole. So if you guys want to pick up any of these shrimp lures, we have them all on our online shop page, fishstrong.com. You guys got to come check it out, get some jig heads, some leaders, some things to tool up here for the winter months and the holiday season where you take your friends and family out. And if you're one of our insider members, you guys know that you can earn up to 20% off of all the lures here in this demonstration. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we're the best inshore fishing club in America because we teach you how to catch more redfish, sea trout, snook, and flounder. There's nothing else like it. We guarantee you're going to catch more fish while saving time and money. We do this with our premium education, an exclusive insider community, and huge discounts on all the tackle that you need. So head over to saltstrong.com and we will see you in the insider family soon.